I'm going to think the best way to introduce Dadi Janki is from her own book, Companion of God, because there's a really interesting piece in there which touches on this subject, and it's called Talking to the Self. And she begins, when you talk to yourself in your mind, which self do you address and how? Usually people do not talk to their divinity, but to the most superficial aspect of their everyday personality. And it's often a stream of fears, complaints, and mindless repetition of old things. If we talked that way to another human being, we would have to apologize. So, she goes on to say, love your mind and stay happy. And no doubt she'll be sharing some more with us as we go forward. So it gives me great pleasure to invite Dadi Janki to come to the stage. She will be speaking to us in Hindi, and she will be translated by Sister Jenti.
मैं इसे साइलेंस बोला, साइलेंस में बैठो और आपस में बात करो. हम आपस में पीछे बात करेंगे, सबसे भी बात करेंगे, आपस में भी करेंगे, साइलेंस में भी रहेंगे.
When Davina was conducting the program, she said, just have a moment of reflection and silence and then talk to each other. And so what's going to happen now is that I'm going to be talking with all of you. We're all going to talk together. We're going to talk to each other and also have time for silence.
3 बार पहले ओम शांति कहेंगे.
But before that, I'll say Om
जिन ओम
Shanti
शांति
3
नहीं
times.
कहा, अपने ओम शांति एक बार भी नहीं कहा.
I missed saying Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Thank you. Mana पहला ओम शांति ये अंगुली से मैं कहूँ.
The first Om Shanti is a reminder, who am I?
मेरा कौन अंगुली ऊपर है.
And the second Om Shanti, the finger goes up, who is mine?
मैं को क्या करना है.
And the third one, what must I do?
पहले ओम शांति से शांति आ गई.
With the first Om Shanti, I become
बड़ी शांति
peaceful.
अच्छी लगती है.
And one enjoys peace a great deal.
शांति आ गई, शक्ति आ गई ऊपर से.
And when I'm peaceful, I'm able to take the power from above.
बहन इसके ब्रह्मा बाबा के फोटो ये उठाओ. सारी हमारे नवीनता लाने वाला कौन.
Behind the screen, we've got a photograph of Brahma Baba, the founder, and he's the one who is
नए साल में
able to
क्या नवीनता लाई है. तो हम 77 years की नवीनता क्या सुनाऊं.
And so he's the one who's brought so much newness in our lives, and so we're talking about newness, and for 77 years there has been newness all the time.
मेरी 98 एज बताते हो, और 77 years में क्या सीखी हूँ.
My age is 98, but what have I learned in the last 77 years?
कम से कम 77 मिनट दो.
And we're not giving Dadi 77 minutes tonight.
कहती है 17 मिनट में बताओ.
Only 17 minutes to share the story.
17 मिनट में. ठीक है, ओके, कोई बात नहीं.
Okay, no matter.
फिर सारी सभा को देख, पहले हाथ उठाओ जो मुझे फर्स्ट टाइम देख रहे हैं.
Who's seeing Dadi for the first time?
फर्स्ट टाइम देख रही हो. और फर्स्ट टाइम देखते ही मुझे लगता है बड़ा अच्छी है, सब अच्छे है.
It's quite a large number, and seeing you all for the first time, it feels that everyone is very
मैं सीधे शब्दों में बोलती हूँ. मैं जब पहले छोटी थी ना, 4 बरस की उम्र से 21 बरस की उम्र तक परमात्मा की खोज में थी.
From age 4 to age 21, I was searching for God.
मनुष्य तभी से लेकर आज दिन तक मनुष्य दुनिया को दिखाने के लिए करते हैं, दुनिया को देख करके करते हैं. मैंने ये कभी नहीं किया.
Generally, people do something either to show the world, or they see the world, they see what the world is doing and do the same. And I have never done either.
दुनिया क्या करती है उनसे मैं अच्छा करूं.
What is the world doing? I should do something better than others.
बच्चों को अच्छा संभालूं.
Yes, I have to look after my
क्या अच्छा
children well.
संभालूं. सारा दिन कभी भी मैंने तो ये नहीं देखा है. ज्ञान तो पीछे मिला, ब्रह्मा बाबा के द्वारा परमात्मा की पहचान पीछे मिली, पर तो दिखावा जो है ना, मुझे लगता था ये कॉमन बात है, अच्छी बात नहीं है.
I understood who is God later. I met Brahma Baba later and had that understanding and wisdom later. But through the whole of my life, I didn't like doing things just simply to show the world.
जवारी की बेटी थी, परंतु कोई मैंने ये वो नहीं पहना.
Even though I was the daughter of a jeweler, I never wore jewelry.
उसमें टाइम, मनी, एनर्जी वेस्ट नहीं हुई है, सफल ही हुई है, तभी मजबूत हूँ.
I made sure that time, money and energy was not wasted. This is why I'm strong.
बाकी और सब सदा पता नहीं. मैं कहती हूँ ये भगवान की गिफ्ट का पता है, ये नहीं कि पता नहीं है, परंतु भगवान की गिफ्ट कहो. हिम्मत है बच्चे मदद बाप, सच्ची दिल पर साहब राजी, नियत साफ मुरादा से. मुझे थोड़ी पता था ये प्रोग्राम बना पड़ा है.
I know that whatever has happened has been because of help from God, and there's 3 expressions that Dadi is using. One is that if I have courage, God will help me. And the second, the Lord is pleased with an honest heart. And the third, if my intentions are clean, then my desires will be fulfilled.
माउंट अबू से अबू रोड आने में भी पौना घंटा लगता है, तो 10 मिनट में हंसा को बोला जनवरी मास है, लंदन चले, कब चलेंगी? हाँ चलेंगे.
I was on a journey from Mount Abu, the top of the mountain, down to our ashram at the bottom of the mountain, and that journey is around 40 to 45 minutes.
जैसे आपने बोला.
And then at that time I said to Hansa, shall we go to London? And Hansa said, shall we do that? Will you come? And in 10 minutes the program was made. 18
जनवरी का मैं तो इतना है जो ये नहीं कहते हैं बाबा ने शरीर का त्याग किया, परंतु हमारे लिए अपने प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ का यादगार हमारे दिल में ऐसा रखा, मुझे क्या करने का है।
18th January is a day of great importance, and I never say that it's a day when Brahma Baba left the body, but rather I would say that this is the day that he's created a memorial in all our hearts and shown us what it is we have to do. Each one can see for themselves, what must I do?
जब से परमात्मा बाप को इसके द्वारा, इसके चेहरे द्वारा, चरण द्वारा लाइट देखी, माइट मिली,
we saw through his face, through his behavior, his activity, we were able to see God's light and receive through his life the might to be able to do the same.
40 साल विश्व सेवा का, 44 साल ब्रह्मा बाबा का व्यक्त हुआ।
I've been outside India for 40 years. It's the anniversary of that now this year, and it's been 45 years since Brahma Baba took his subtle form.
मनुष्य सुनो, तन, मन, धन, संबंध, 4 बातें होती हैं ना।
There are 4 major factors in life: mind, body, wealth, relationships.
ये तन में मैं हूँ, मेरा मन कहाँ है?
I'm here in this body. Where is my mind? Is my mind occupied with my wealth or my relationships?
कहाँ है मन?
Where is my mind?
तेरे को अनुभव है, मन कहाँ है?
Where is the mind?
धन में है?
Is it in wealth?
तन में है?
Is it in the body?
बालों बनाने में है?
Is it in decorating my
श्रृंगार
hair?
करने में है?
Decorating my body?
इस बात में नहीं है। मन फ्री है।
The mind isn't caught in these things, it's free.
तो मन फ्री होने के कारण अभी इनको क्या बताऊं, मैं सहज करके बताती हूँ। अंतर्मुखी है, अंतर्मन से।
What can I share with you? Let me make it very simple. It's important to be able to turn inside, to go within.
ये सीधे शब्द कहूँ, ये सब बाहरमुखी होने के कारण अंतर कभी पता ही नहीं, अंदर कैसे जानना होता है, पहचानना होता है।
Most of the time people are looking outside, and so there isn't the experience of being able to look inwards and see what's going on inside.
जब आप दोनों बात कर रहे थे तो मुझे लगा, पहले मुझे शायद आप बहन से बैठी थी ऊपर, मेरे कमरे में तो लेके आती थी, कितना सा अभी लेके चलना, सिटिंग रूम कैसी है, बेडरूम कैसी है।
Daddy knows that we were sitting together for a little while,
देखा ना।
and Daddy's saying that I should have taken you to meet Dadi in her sitting room, and she wants you to see her sitting room, her bedroom, clean, clear, uncluttered.
कभी भी ये नहीं आएगा, आज मेरा मन शांत नहीं है, अशांत का कारण ही नहीं है।
And I'll never ever have the feeling that today my mind is peaceless. There's no reason for the mind not to have peace.
इतनी शांति है जो औरों को भी अशांत होना है।
So much peace that if somebody else is peaceless, it's possible to help them become peaceful.
आप बात कर रहे थे, मुझे वाइब्रेशन, इसको शांति में होने से शांति का अनुभव करते थे।
As you were both speaking, I was sending you vibrations of peace.
मन शांत होने से भावना अंदर की जो है ना बड़ी एक दो को ऊंच उठाने में ऊंची है, श्रेष्ठ है.
When a mind is peaceful, then it's possible to have good feelings and elevated good wishes for others to help uplift them.
बिहार में बैठ कितने गिनती करो बैठे हैं
400.
मतलब कितने बैठे हैं सबके लिए भावना है क्या भावना है
There's maybe around 400 or something people sitting here. And what is the feeling in the heart? It's
अपन को जानो मैं कौन हूँ.
And my deep wish for all of you is that
तो
each
ईगो
one
से फ्री हो जाएंगे.
should be able to know the self, and that makes you free from ego.
सबसे बड़ा दुश्मन है ईगो.
Our greatest enemy is ego.
Anger, attachment, greed, lust.
You understood.
देखें कैसे देखेंगे लड़की
Dadi has become a great actress.
इंग्लैंड में आते 40 साल हो गया पर मैं भगवान की कहूँ उम्मीदें पूरी करने के लिए इंग्लैंड जैसे देश में ये 5 विकारों को छोड़ के प्योरिटी, पीस, लव, हैप्पीनेस, पावर जिन्हों को मिल गया तो प्योरिटी ऐसे तो ना प्योरिटी, पीस, लव, हैप्पीनेस, पावर.
I'm grateful that
कभी नहीं ख्याल आया होगा ठहरो ना कभी नहीं ख्याल आया होगा मेरे में कैसे आएगा नहीं आ सकता है.
I'm grateful to God that sitting here in England in these 40 years, there are many souls who are here who would say that with God's power they've been able to go beyond ego, anger, greed, lust, etc. and come to the stage where they experience peace and purity and love and happiness and power. And so those who've been able to have this experience, raise your hands.
Purity में पीस तभी आई जब ऑनेस्टी है एकदम.
When there's purity, there's peace, and there has to be honesty.
Honesty ईश्वर की तरफ से जैसे प्यार में वर्षे में गिफ्ट मिल गई है.
When there's love for God and that relationship with God, then you can claim honesty as a gift from God, as your birthright.
इंग्लैंड अमेरिका कहीं भी आपने ऐसे हाल देखे होंगे पर ऐसा हाल कभी देखा जहाँ अभी बैठे हो.
There's many places where people gather together all over the world, but have you felt this atmosphere and being in a place like this? Have you had a conversation like this?
तो क्या चाहिए प्यूरिटी में जो ऑनेस्टी है ना बड़ा अंदर ही अंदर मेल्ट करती है.
When there's honesty in that purity, then it melts the soul inside.
सच्चाई, हिम्मत, विश्वास तुरंत काम करता है.
When there's honesty, courage and faith, things can happen very quickly.
मैं समझती हूँ मैं इस बहन के कारण यहाँ आई हूँ.
I think I've come to England for Fiona.
मैंने भगवान से पूछा मुझे क्यों भेजते हो तो कहा कोई ऐसी आत्माएं हैं जिनको ऐसा मिलेगा सारी दुनिया को बताएंगे मैं कौन मेरा कौन मैं कौन मेरा कौन.
I said to God, why am I going to England? And the answer came in my mind that I have to find those souls who can be instruments to tell the world who is God and to tell the world who am I and who belongs to me.
अभी ये हिंदी में बोल रहे हो नाटक खड़े हो करके मैं कौन मेरा कौन मैं कौन मेरा बा
Who am I and who belongs to me?
कितना खुशी है.
It brings great happiness.
कभी भी मैंने जब आप बात कर रहे थे नाउमीदी का निराशाई का ख्याल आया ही नहीं आ नहीं सकता.
I've never had a thought of hopelessness or loss of faith in the self, and that can never happen.
क्योंकि body conscious नहीं है.
When there's body consciousness, limited consciousness, then that happens.
प्रकृति में कई बातें हैं अधीन नहीं है.
When one is trapped by matter, bound into matter, then these things come.
जब यहाँ आते हैं ट्रॉली लेते हैं ना कईयों को पर्स होंगे बुढ़ों को पर्स लकड़ी हाथ में पर्स मुझे पता ही नहीं पर्स क्या होता है.
Dadi loves giving sweets, and so she sits at the front, and you'll experience it tonight. She gives these sweets, and she sees that there are some aged folk who come, and they've got a stick in their hand, but they're also carrying a bag.
एक हाथ में लकड़ी दूसरा पर्स.
So they're carrying the stick and they're carrying the bag.
ये किसने सिखाया?
I don't carry any bags.
नहीं सिखाया समझाया प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ बनाया.
And so who is it who's able to teach us, and not just teach us but help us achieve that in our practical lives?
कितना टाइम लगा. मुझे याद आता है जब न्यूयॉर्क में पहला बारी थोड़ी बैठक हुई थी कईयों से, तो जब सुन रहे थे कि बात तो बड़ी सही है अच्छी है परंतु कैसे हो सकता है बताओ.
At one point in the 80s, there was a small gathering in New York, and I remember that people were talking about these things and saying, well, these things are very good, but how do you do them in practical life?
मैंने कहा जो कुछ कर रहे हो उसमें आपका इंटरेस्ट है और टाइम देते हो. इंटरेस्ट है, इंटरेस्ट नहीं होगा और नहीं करेंगे. मुझे ये करना है तो टाइम देते हो.
I said, whatever it is you're doing, you're interested in it, and that's why you're giving time to it. If you weren't interested, you wouldn't be giving it time.
ऐसी कंपनी चाहिए.
And so one needs the right company.
तो ये अच्छा थोड़ा समझना प्रैक्टिकल करने के लिए इंटरेस्ट रखना.
And so to understand these things and then to apply them practically, to have that interest.
पर आप जैसे कि कंपनी में रह करके इतने भी करना.
And then to have the right company, and then things can happen fast.
इसमें समय सफलता देख, स्वयं में शक्ति देख, परमात्मा में विश्वास देख. अब भी सब कुछ हो सकता है. क्या हो सकता है? सच्चा बनना हो तो कैसे?
And so seeing the time, seeing the self, seeing God, and seeing all these energies coming together,
ऐसे नहीं कैसे बनूं? नहीं ऐसे बनेंगे.
Then you'll say that yes, it's possible for me to do this, it's possible for me to achieve that state.
झूठ का नाम निशान नहीं.
To remove all trace of falsehood.
कोई भी इंसान ऐसा नहीं है जो झूठ सच पाप पुण्य को न जानता हो.
There's no human being who doesn't know the difference between sin and charity and truth and falsehood.
कौन नहीं जानता है?
Is there anyone who doesn't know?
पर झूठ को ख़त्म करना अंदर से, सच्चाई को अंदर अपने आप पे से काम लेना, तो किए हुए पाप भी खलास हो जाते हैं और अभी पुण्य कर्म का खाता जमा हो जाता है.
But if there's the determination to finish all falsehood and imbibe deeply honesty, then with that power one is able to ensure that the account of bad action finishes and there's an account of good action that begins to accumulate.
अब टाइम हो गया ना, अभी जो 1-1.5 घंटे में सभी ने क्या किया,
What did everyone do?
ऐसे पूछो क्या किया?
What did everyone do for the last hour and a half?
ये ऐसे नच हुआ है, ऐसे आता है, ऐसे पर आता है, कितना पुण्य कर्म को खुशी में है.
That he's asking Arnold, how great is your happiness as you've been doing service and accumulating good karma.
तो मुझे बड़ी खुशी होगी आज सभी को ये समझ में आया, कोई ऐसा कर्म न करूं तो कॉन्शियस फाइट करे.
Today I think everybody must have also understood that let me not do any such action that makes my conscience bite.
ना में निराशा क्यों होती है?
Why is there loss of hope?
ये मैं प्रैक्टिकल सारे दिन में देखती हूँ. थोड़ा भी गलत काम करने से चेहरा उदास हो जाता है.
I see this all day. If somebody's done some mistake, then their faces show this. Their faces look a little bit sad and hopeless.
आज की वाणी में था, हर्षित भी हो रमणीक भी हो.
Today we read in our lesson that when there's spiritual power, you're able to be cheerful and also entertaining.
तो सिर्फ अंतर्मुखी सदा सुखी.
Just stay turning inwards and you'll always be happy.
ये आंखें, कान, मुख,
These eyes, these ears,
तीनों
these
हमारे
lips,
आर्डर में है.
all should be in my order, my control.
देखना है तो क्या, सुनना है तो क्या,
What should I see? What should I hear?
सोचना क्या है.
What should I think?
अभी तो टाइम हो गया, पर उनको तुम ही शॉर्ट में सुनाओ. असोचता भोगता करता, शॉर्ट में सुना दो.
A topic that Dadi's been sharing with us is the topic of how let there be no waste thoughts, only pure thoughts, and then all the other waste and extra finishes. And if there is that clarity of just pure thought, then the actions that are performed are such that there's no repercussions, no consequences of any effect on the soul. And also then there's no ego that I have done this. And so it's been a topic that she's been reflecting on and sharing with us.
40 साल यहाँ क्या किया? कुछ काम नहीं किया.
What have I done for 40 years here? Nothing.
कुछ नहीं किया.
I didn't do anything.
निराकारी स्थिति में रहना, निर्विकारी बनना, निरंकारी रहना.
To stay in that original stage, which is just the soul, incorporeal, to stay in that stage which is free from negativity, and to stay in that stage free from ego.
शरीर में होते न्यारा, प्रभु का प्यारा, दाता बन के देते रहो.
Whilst in the body, stay detached, be the one who's loved by God, and constantly give to others.
ओके, अभी साइलेंस में बैठेंगे. भले जैसे भी करें, साइलेंस मानना क्या है?
Daddy's asking if we're going to spend a few minutes in silence. And so what does silence mean? Silence means to look inside, to see the self, to connect with the one above. I'll speak out a few thoughts and invite you to follow these ideas. Turning inwards, seeing the inner being, the being of light that I am. I stay in this awareness of I, the being of light. And as I focus on the spiritual being, my thoughts connect with the Supreme. The being of peace, the ocean of peace, the ocean of love. The ocean of purity. And in this awareness of the self, I draw from the ocean peace and purity. And the power of God's love is able to clean the soul and wash away all the dust that has accumulated. I stay in this awareness of the eternal being, and the power of God's love heals, uplifts, and transforms the soul. God's love gives me a vision of who I truly am. And God's love gives me the power to achieve it and make it happen. And the power of God's love brings light into the world of darkness, so that the world is transformed. I hold this awareness and this connection, and come back into the physical dimension. I come back with that vision and hope. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thanks are in order, double thanks. Thank you to Sister Janki for her elegant translation, which always brings off the illusion I end up thinking I can understand Hindi. And our great thanks to Dadi, who speaks in that universal vocabulary, that language of the heart that we can all understand. My experience of when Dadi speaks is that there are things there to expand our minds and to touch our hearts, but also to empower our action. And if you have listened and taken that on board, you may well find you've got the power to do those carry through those New Year's resolutions that you weren't able to do before. So thank you both very much indeed. Did you enjoy that program? So, one hand thank you to Dadi, I think. Thank you all.
There are many things to share with you, but they put a restriction on me.
If you enjoyed this program and want to know more about
late night तक है कहीं लंदन में यही होता है ना जो कुछ करते घूमते फिरते नाइट को
People have late nights and go wandering around late.
ठीक है ओके परंतु थोड़ा आज का दिन महान है ना आज का दिन महान है तो महान आत्मा बनने का है नवीनता क्या लानी महान आत्मा
So today take away the inspiration for greatness. It's a great day and take the inspiration for greatness yourself.
ऐसे नहीं सिर्फ जनवरी मास के लिए है या 2014 के लिए है
And then it's not just for the month of January or not just for 2014 but forever.
खुश रहना खुशी बांटना
Stay happy and share happiness.
मेरे बाबू डांस करना
And dance like me.
चलो ओके
Angels have wings.
बुजुर्ग लोग ऐसे
And senior people